very important topic, that is documentation string. Important, or you can say an interesting topic, documentation string. Okay, in the documentation string we'll take examples, but before that we need to understand what is comments, because we'll be comparing our documentation string with comments to understand it much better. So what is comments? Comments are the statements that is being used by the programmer, okay, for their understanding or for their convenience. Okay, so it is the statements used by programmer for their convenience, or you can say to level their modules or functions. Okay, they just use it to understand what they have done in that particular module or in that particular function. Now it is being ignored by the compiler. What do you mean by that? It is being ignored by the compiler. Python compiler doesn't run this code. Okay, it is only for the programmer. It doesn't have any impact on the output. Okay, it just ignores the whatever you have written for comments. Okay, now let's understand the symbols for comments. Let's understand the symbols we use for comment. First symbol that we use is hash. Okay, hash symbol can be used for any single line comment, like my first comment. Okay, so only one line is there, so you can just use a hash and write the statement. Okay, if you have multi-line comments, so what you can write? Triple single quotes, my first comment. Okay, so you can have multi-line comments. Multi-line comments can also be done with triple quotes. Some compilers support this. Triple double quotes. Okay, this is also used for multi-line comments. So this is single line comment. We can have single line comments and we can have multi-line comments. Okay, this is all about comment. So what is comment? Comment is ignored by the compiler. It doesn't have any effect on the output. That is the point we need to remember. Okay, and this is the way we can define a comment, single line or multi-line. So let's go back to the documentation string, or in short it is known as doc string. Okay, so let's understand what is doc string. When we'll take the exact example, you'll understand it much better. Okay, so documentation string is the string or the statements that has been taken by the compiler, taken by the programmer, taken by the programmer for making their module more readable, module or function more or classes more readable. What do you understand by this? This means whenever a programmer is using a documentation string, it gives you the inside of that program or function or module for what they have used the documentation string. It makes the co-programmer to understand his module better. So let me take an example. Suppose two people are working in a company. Okay, I am writing a code where I am using a documentation string. So my co-programmer doesn't have to check my whole code and understand what it is doing. He can just see the documentation string that I have printed and understand what my module is actually doing. Okay, so the documentation string is not only for me, it is for my co-programmer also to understand my code. Okay, so obviously it is not ignored by compiler. That means what? It has some effect on the output, or it is printed in the output. Okay, and it can be used with any class, any method, any function, or any module, Okay, it can be used with any of them. Okay, and the most important thing that we need to understand is it can be accessed by the following syntax, that is underscore doc underscore. Okay, it can be accessed only by this. So let's take an example, then you'll understand it. Much better. These are the 4 points that you need to remember about this documentation string. So let's take an example. Suppose what we'll do, we'll take a small function that we have. The example we have taken in user-defined function. Let us take the same example. So I'm calling a user-defined function. Def is the keyword used for a user-defined function. I'm adding 2 numbers, add underscore 2 function add. Obviously we want this and then colons. Okay, so I have defined a function which will add 2 numbers, suppose. Okay, so let me give two numbers a comma b. You can give. Okay, we want parameters. We have understood it much better in the user defined function, so let me not go inside it now. Now you can call a at the runtime, or directly also you can take value. Let us call at the runtime input, enter a, b. Let's take integer. If you want, you can take float also. Input, enter b, okay, and then c is equal to a plus b, and then return c. It should indentation. We have to be careful with the indentation. Return c. Okay, so this is the function definition. Obviously, we haven't called the function, so we won't see the output. Let us call the function add underscore 2 4 comma 5. Now in this code, so this what it will do, it will just add 2 numbers 4 and 5. Okay, this is the user defined function. Now in this code, if you want to add a comment, what we can do, we can give an hash function and write my addition program. Okay, this way you can write. So it will be a comment which won't be shown in the output, but for me, I understood, okay, whatever I have done by reading this line, I understood, okay, this is an addition program. It's only for the programmer who is programming it, okay. This you can use, or you can use triple quotes, or you can use triple double quotes. So let's take multi-line only. Okay. Now, but what I've said, I want my co-programmer by reading that line to understand. So comment won't be helping me with that. So what we'll do, we'll just call this comment inside the function using triple quotes only. First, what you can say, first addition program. Okay, first addition program. Now, what I've said, we need to call this, okay, we need to print this. This will just include the documentation string in the function. But obviously, इसको जब तक हम print नहीं करेंगे, तब तक we won't be getting this as an output. So what it will give? So let's see the output. It will, we need to print it first. Print, what we need to do, add underscore to the function name dot underscore underscore dot underscore underscore doc underscore underscore. So what will be the output of this program? What will be the output of this program? This program will return this first addition program and then the addition value, that is 9. Okay. So in the second part of this video, we'll run this program in Google Colab and see whether you're getting the same output or not.
So in the theoretical part, we have already seen the difference between comments and the doc strings. Okay, now let's run the program and see how it actually looks like. Okay, so we have seen in the theoretical part, what we have understood is comments are for the programmers who is programming it, and document strings are normally being used for the co-programmers. Okay, so that I want my co-programmer to understand what I have done. Okay, for that we can use this documentation strings. Now, before going in for comment and documentation string, let's define a user defined function. Let's take a very simple function. Suppose cube, finding the cube of a number. So what does this do? This just finds the cube of the number. So let's run cube. I'm so sorry. Yes. So this is the function which does cubing of a number. Let's see whether it's giving the proper output or not. Yes, bingo. It's giving proper output. Now, what we need to do before going to the documentation string, what we'll see first is the comment. What are the different ways of showing or giving comments in Python? Okay, so first one is giving hash. This is a cube program. Okay, second one is giving triple quotes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's just copy this, copy paste this. So this is another way of doing. And the last way for multi-line comments we have already seen is this. Okay, we can have multi-line comments with this. But obviously this is for the programmer, so it won't make any difference in the code. Okay, now imagine a situation where after running the code, I want this comments to be displayed on the displayed on the screen so that my co-programmers who are going inside the code can understand. Okay, so how to do it? So let's just write this. Okay. Still it won't show, okay, because we have to print the document string. We are just calling the document string, we are not printing it. So let's print. So what is the name of the function? Is cube. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Print cube dot 2 times underscore, then dot, then 2 times underscore. Okay, now you can see this is a cube program. Okay, so this way, so basically comments are not being executed by the compiler, whereas your documentation strings are being used by the compiler. So basically documentation strings are the strings or the definitions or the naming of the programs that you have done, which helps your co-programmers to understand your program. Instead of going through each and line of your code, he can directly understand by the simple statements. Thank you so much. Enjoy coding.